Hi everyone, and welcome to this particular episode of the Transform for Tomorrow series. My name is Megan Towns. I work as a learning delivery specialist on the education team at Microsoft in Australia, and I'm here today to talk to you about social and emotional learning and the learnings that we had from that during our remote learning experience and how that can actually inform some of the practices we take back to our face-to-face classrooms. So for those of you who've not attended a live event before, it's super easy to ask questions as you go by clicking that question mark in the top right hand corner, and this will be recorded and available for you to watch later. So recently, the New Pedagogies for Deep Learning organization released this particular position paper on a paradigm shift for education based on the COVID experience of moving from, classroom learning very quickly and drastically to remote learning, and now returning back to the classroom and reimagining what could be possible. Even though COVID and remote learning has been quite a traumatic experience for both teachers, students, and communities alike, it's also providing us with an unprecedented opportunity to transform education. And so social and emotional learning is one of the ways that we can transform education with lessons from the remote learning experience. And so 2020 has felt a lot like this for most of us at times. That concept of a roller coaster. Sometimes the roller coaster feeling like it's about to fall into the water, I think sometimes, but that's all right. And for many of our students, just school alone can be an emotional roller coaster. And so that's why social and emotional learning really matters. Our emotions, and students' emotions particularly, do impact their motivation, their attention in class and out of class, and their cognition as well. So looking after a student's social and emotional needs and building their skills and resilience is really important as part of their school performance and school experience. And so what is social and emotional learning? And, there's different organizations that look after or that address what social and emotional learning is. If you go to castle.org, you will find a framework there for what social and emotional learning is. And one of the important things that we consider is the fact that technology actually provides the optimum environment to support the development of those skills. And so we're going to look at a few Microsoft technologies that can support that. But before that, I do just want to address that framework I spoke about. So the CASTLE framework looks at 5 different areas of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. It breaks those factors down into those 5 areas, with the home and community, schools and classrooms being an important factor in bringing all those things together. And what you might notice is that CASTLE circle looks a lot like this one, which is the general capabilities, what's the name? In our curriculum. So the general capabilities framework, I guess, for personal and social capability. And we can identify that self-management, self-awareness, and social management and social awareness. So, when we're addressing these sorts of frameworks like the social and emotional learning, we're actually also meeting the general capabilities of our curriculum as well, which is, nice to be able to do that at the same time. And so the last bit of research I will mention is this another paradigm shift sort of paper, looking at the class of 2030. And there's some really great statistics in this one. You can see the link there on screen at aka.ms/class of 2030 sign up. And there's some great statistics about our kindergarten students, the fact that they'll be graduating in the year 2030 or thereabouts. And the way that they'll interact and socialize and work is shifting rapidly. And we always talk about, the jobs of tomorrow don't exist and all that sort of stuff. And, the movement of, STEM learning and all that sort of stuff. But the future is not just limited to the jobs that don't exist yet and the STEM jobs. Social and emotional skills are also quickly taking center stage alongside those cognitive and technical skills, as well as the usual content knowledge, both in the classroom, but also in the workforce as well. So that research shows that social and emotional skill development is actually 2 times more predictive of a student's academic achievement than their home environment or demographic, and can actually increase their academic performance by 11%. So, you know, the remote learning experience has very much taught us that there's a range of Microsoft technologies that can actually support that social and emotional skill development. So what I'm going to do for the next 40 minutes or so is look at those competencies, but in the context of 4 particular Microsoft tools. I could also have looked at OneNote, but you know, I only have 40 minutes, so I don't want to spend too much time. And there's probably a few other tools I could have looked at as well, but I do want to focus on a few features specifically. I'm not going to give you how-tos or anything like that. I might show a few screenshots in regards to how to use it, but if you want to dive deeper into learning these tools yourselves, I'll also be sharing links where you can go and learn more. I just want to show some of the specific features and I guess downloads for Minecraft that you can access to build your students' social and emotional skills. So let's let's dive into the first one in Microsoft Forms. So throughout COVID and remote learning, and even before and after COVID, teachers have been using forms to do a check-in with social and emotional feelings, getting students to identify those and having the data as well to be able to track a student's social and emotional well-being and help students to build the skills they need to manage those emotions. And so they can be, you know, the forms can be used at any point of the day. Might be at the start of a day, you know, before or after lunch, you know, when something has impacted the community, you know, all sorts of different reasons when you could use basically the same form to check on emotions. So like I said, before I jump in and show you how to use it, do know that you can go to support.office.com/education to access a number of different guides for all sorts of different Microsoft technologies, but one of them is indeed Microsoft Forms. So if you head to that website, scroll down a little bit and select Forms, you'll find all the how-tos you ever need for using Microsoft Forms, plus other tools as well. All right. So if you've not used Office 365 before, this is the Office 365 dashboard. This is where you can jump on with your school email address or password. You can click Microsoft Forms. If you don't see it there, you'll probably find it underneath all apps. And you can create both forms and quizzes, right? Or surveys and quizzes using Microsoft Forms. If Forms hasn't been turned on by your organization for whatever reason, always handy to log a job through IT and ask if it can be turned on. There's no harm in trying. If not, you know, perhaps cite this use case as for a reason why you might like it turned on. So once you click on Forms, you usually get a little pop-up that I close, and then you have the option to click New Form or New Quiz. So quizzes, you can make it that they're self-marking for multiple choice and short answer, but that's not the one we're going to look at today. In fact, we're not even going to look at creating a new form. You can, there's no problem with you creating a check-in form for your students that you customize yourself. But what I'd like to do is share yet again another link with you where you can go to aka.ms/check-in and you can actually grab a copy of this specific form. And so you'll be able to update the you know, questions as well as the descriptions up the top if you want. But it sort of just gives you the basics for a check-in form. So once you click on that link there or open up that link there, you simply just duplicate it, sign in with your school account if it's not already signed in, and it will open up like this. So it's now a copy for you to use and access all the results for, and yeah, yours to use forevermore. So you can change the title if you want. If you don't know how to put in emoticons or emojis as text, your new keyboard shortcut is Windows button plus full stop, right? Not the plus button, but Windows and full stop at the same time, or start and full stop at the same time. And that will bring up an emoji library, and you can choose the, you know, as long as you've got your cursor in a text box, you can choose an emoji to place in there, which is really cool. So you could then customize the description there about, you know, who's going to see the form results, and if you do actually have a concern to see a particular teacher, you can add extra questions if you like, or you can just leave them as is. Before you share it or anything like that, you probably want to preview what it looks like. So you can click preview up the top of the forms interface and have a look. You've got that question about how are things going, how are you feeling, and again, there's emojis attached to those, so it's quite nice for younger years students. And then a reasoning as to why you feel this way. So you can also check what it looks like in mobile view, which is great for the teenagers. So it does adapt. It's got that adaptive design on it. So if a student does open up the link via their mobile phone, they will see that. If you've not used Immersive Reader before, students are able to use the Immersive Reader to have the questions read aloud or translated, as well as a few other features. So it's a great accessibility tool built into Microsoft Forms as well. So once you're happy with the way your form looks, like I said, you might add your own questions if you choose to, or just update some of these existing ones. And then once you're ready, you can click on share, and then you have the option to either copy that link and paste it into all sorts of places, email, wherever you like, quite frankly. Or you can also select this button here and grab a QR code. So if you are grabbing a QR code, you can then just download that as an image, print it out, put it on your door, put it on the back of a kid's textbook or workbook, paste it anywhere and say, hey, how you feeling? So even if a student, if you haven't provided a specific time for all students to respond, students might want to tell you without actually saying it out loud, and they can use that form knowing that you'll actually get the answer. So yeah, just another nice way to share that link to students. Also, if you did want to share the results with your colleagues, you can share to collaborate so that they can access the data. And if, like we did with this existing form, if you wanted to share a copy of it with for someone else to use, you can do that through share as a template. So nice to point those things out as well. Now, if you happen to be using Microsoft Teams, Forms does integrate into the Teams channel tabs quite nicely. So when you click the plus tab, next to in the tabs up the top of a channel, one of the options you get is to add a form. So when you click on that, you'll be provided with two options. By default, it actually goes to create a shared form that everyone in your team can see. You wouldn't want to do that for a social and emotional check-in, right? Students don't need to see each other's responses. What you would want to do is, whoops, I just crossed it out, is select add an existing form, and then you'll see all the forms that you've ever made or had shared with you by another colleague, and you'll be able to select that particular form. So in this case, I would check the how are you feeling, and then I can choose to post it in the stream into the posts of my team or not, and then save that tab. All right, so what that will then look like is it's actually now embedded as a tab in Microsoft Teams, meaning that if you are using Teams and the channel structure, your students won't need to jump out of Teams at any point to complete that form. They know they'll be able to, in this case, select classroom, select check-in, and complete the form as necessary, and they just scroll down and click enter when finished. So that's how you create a nice social and emotional check-in for your students to access anytime, anywhere, on any device using Microsoft Forms. Remember, you can head to support.office.com/education to learn more about using Microsoft Forms in the classroom. All right, we're out of the classroom, quite frankly. So on to my favorite tool, Microsoft Teams. I'm not going to dive into a whole heap of, when to Teams, how to create team structures or anything like that. I'd like to show you a couple of simple features in Teams that can really help students with their social and emotional experience and learning within school. So, this quote is particularly lovely. I forget where it comes from. I think it comes from that class of 2030 research. I should have referenced that. So with Teams, there is that instant feedback to student. It can be personalized, and it goes beyond just the confines of the school environment. As we saw during remote learning, Microsoft Teams provided a platform for teaching and learning where learning could happen anywhere, whether it was through synchronous video calls or whether it was through asynchronous learning through, collaborative documents in Teams or Flipgrid or just conversation happening in those posts areas. So Microsoft Teams is fantastic, and I do want to share a couple of features. But if you do want to learn more about Microsoft Teams, the good old Office 365 for education guides at that same link has a ridiculous, quite frankly, amount of, in a good way, support guides for using Microsoft Teams in education. It's not just normal Teams, it's actually specific to the education Teams experience. And fun fact, it's actually built into the help menu within Microsoft Teams as well. So anytime you click help, you'll be accessing Teams guides down there as well. All right, so you might not want to use a standard, check-in form like I've just shown. You may actually just want to do a quick, pulse check of how your students are feeling during a lesson using Microsoft Teams. And so down the bottom of the posts area in Teams, you'll find a little ellipsis next to all those icons, and you'll be able to select Microsoft Forms. Now, in this case, it actually doesn't open in this different Forms environment. It just opens up within Teams. Students can't see one another's responses when they fill out this poll, but you will be able to. So in this case, it's not necessarily an emotional check. It's just simply how are students feeling about that particular lesson you delivered. So a bit like an exit ticket if you're used to that exit ticket concept. So the teacher simply pops in that question that they'd like to ask around how did today's lesson feel, and then a few quick responses in easy peasy, okay, hard, or impossible. And then you do have options to, add more responses and also allow multiple answers if you choose to. But ultimately, once you've done the question and expected responses, you can click on next. And so from there, you get to just see what the card will look like when it posts to Teams, and then you can click send. And so once you click send, it does go in as a card inside Microsoft Teams, and you can also see those results. Now, if a student does forget or isn't paying attention, you can go back and reply. If they've said, I can't find where that form response was, you can click on reply and tag the student or students who missed that particular form. But also, if you are accessing that forms dashboard, whenever you make one of those polls inside of Teams, it does go into your Forms dashboard to share later if you need to. And you notice the difference between a normal form, which is the one I just made, and a Teams poll. And it's got that icon on the Teams polls. You can see I've created a few more over here as well. So yeah, you can still access the poll in Teams even once it disappears high up into the posts area. So that's creating a poll inside of Microsoft Teams for the social check on a student's feelings around how they went in a particular lesson, not necessarily academically either. You should encourage students to respond to that question, beyond just the academic, and identify how they feel emotionally about the lesson as well. So another fantastic feature built into Teams, and again in the posts area, is you have a little praise button, right? So it's basically a little badge, a ribbon badge that you often award during sports carnivals and the like. If you don't see it, you can click the ellipsis and you'll see the praise option under there as well. So what happens when you click on praise is you get these 16 badges to choose from. If I just quickly zoom in, you'll notice, some great badges, and they have actually been aligned to the social and emotional skills that a student can develop both in and out of school. So, if you see a student being inclusive and they're bringing, students into their friendship group that they usually wouldn't, they could choose inclusive, or maybe, they're leading in some way, shape or form. They can, you can click the leadership, it's problem solver. There's some great badges there that you can choose from, and students themselves can choose from these badges and give praise to others. So I definitely encourage you to have students praise one another, and particularly not just their friends, but when they see, sort of like a catch you being good, or catch you being courageous, or catch you being a team player, or whatever other badge you'd like to insert there. Ask students to give praise when they see that it is warranted, because when they click on one of those icons, what they will be taken to is this particular pop-up that allows you to tag not just one, but more people if you need to, as long as they're a member of that particular team where they're giving praise. And you'll be able to attach a note as well. So once you've made that note, you'll be able to then select preview, And then on the next screen, just like with the poll, you get to observe what that will look like before finally clicking send. And then once it goes into the posts area, the person or people who you have given praise to will actually get an activity notification as well. So they'll definitely see the praise. And what I've found, you know, we use this at Microsoft to give praise to one another when job well done, a job has been well done. You can click on reply, which is slightly off the screen there, and, you know, reinforce that praise as well. And I find that when you do give praise, there's always people that come in and reinforce that praise as well. So great way to give your students social and emotional learning a boost using Teams praise. So look for that one. And again, check out the support guides at support.office.com/education for all things Microsoft Teams and how to use that in your classroom. All right, Flipgrid, all right, is a partner of Microsoft. We Flipgrid has been free for quite some time now. And this is a quote from Jim Leslie and the head of education innovation, Jania Irwin at Flipgrid. You know, the tool itself, Flipgrid, I think was built for social and emotional learning. It definitely came into play significantly during remote learning. Teachers were using it, you know, to bring the power of student voice alive when they couldn't physically be in the classroom with their students. Students could connect with one another, and that important, you know, personal factor of, you know, speaking to other people during your school day was able to come to life in Flipgrid while the teacher was still actually able to observe and control those conversations if needed. So if you'd like to know more about Flipgrid, the place to go for all things learning around Flipgrid is help.flipgrid.com. So what is Flipgrid if you've never heard of it before? The idea is that you basically ask a question and students can respond. Now, you can also give more context to that question and give, you know, links in this case, or you can pin videos over here as well, and students can do a little bit of learning and then respond to a question. So that they can show you their understanding of a particular concept or idea. But you can also use it in this case for those social and emotional check-ins or reflections, so that students are building those skills yet again. So I've got this embedded into Microsoft Teams. It can stand alone if you choose to, but I've chosen to embed it into Teams using that fabulous Add tab option at the top, which I'll show you how to do soon. So the idea is that you ask that question, the students, like I said, engage with the learning or the question in some way, shape, or form. And when they're ready, they click that great big green button to give a video response. And as you can see, even if your students do not have permission to publish, actually all of these have emojis on them, your students are able to come in and, you know, during the video and or after the video, they can pop an emoji on their face. And if they forget to, you can actually do that yourself as well. And then, you know, you can keep it completely hidden if you want to. You can make it that you approve the videos before they go live. I know some students are quite concerned about posting a video, or they just don't have permission to. You can still get them to do it, but you're the only person who ever sees it. So there are those deep controls in Flipgrid as well, which is quite nice. So how do you make a Flipgrid? First of all, you sign up for a free account using your school email address. And then you get started. It's so much fun. I love using Flipgrid. So, you know, you've got a dashboard with different controls up the top here. To get started, my favorite thing to do is to go into the disco library, mainly because I just think it's cool that you have to go to a disco to access the library. So in here, you can actually scroll down and search all the Flipgrids available for you to use. You can make your own from scratch if you want to, but I think a great way to get started is to search the ones that already exist. And so there's a number of organizations you can see here that have created, you know, content, curriculum aligned sort of questions and content. So you've got BBC Learning there, you've got a museum or two in here, code.org, quite a few curriculum-based grids, as well as the more social and emotional ones as well. So Find Your Grind is quite a nice one for older students. I think Wonderopolis and Epic, as well as, Another one that I can never think of. Well, obviously the conversations about race, equity, and justice would also be important. And then you've also got standalone teachers who are often featured, and they'll have a collection of both curriculum and social-based grids as well. So explore those, have a look at the different grids in there, and then if you choose to, you can actually add them to your grid once you find one you like. So here's one from a teacher, Jonia Amant, and this one's about identifying feelings, and the students watch a YouTube video and then answer that particular question. And you can see that Immersive Reader is yet again integrated into Flipgrid. So if you like the look of that one, you can watch the YouTube video yourself. That's not a problem. And if you want to, you can change the notes and things like that as well, as long as you yourself add it to one of your own grids. You might set up a grid for your Year 5 primary class or your Year 7 PDHB class. It's completely up to you, but you do need to have a grid to add it to when you're searching that library. You can also add it to your favorites to just use later on and not have to find again. So yeah, that's just one example. That's a great primary example. Here's another one, again from a teacher, where again the students are watching YouTube and then responding to a question. Now, if you don't have YouTube turned on at your school, that's okay. You can record your own videos perhaps, and you can also connect to things like Vimeo and other video platforms that are perhaps unlocked for your students. And so here's another one, good old Flipgrid Friday Reflections. This one doesn't have a video. You can see that's just an animated GIF. And the students, again, just reflect on their week in class and tell the teacher about 3 things you learned this week, as well as one in detail, but also highlighting the best part of your week, and having students, be able to revisit those videos throughout, and also set goals. Sorry, there's another important factor for that question, is setting a goal. So setting goals is an important part of the skill set for social and emotional learning. So if you like the look of that one, again, you could add it to a grid or save for later. And then the Find Your Grind Disco Library collection. This guy, cool looking surfy dude, he sort of, has a bit of a motivational talk, only a short one, usually around 30-40 seconds. And this one's about failure and the idea of failure leading to success, which I think is a really important one as well for building students' social and emotional skills. And so if you like the look of that question and that statement, as well as the video itself, again, you can add it to one of your grids. And so when you do add it to a particular grid, you get the option of, slightly changing the title or the prompt for the question. Sometimes, the spelling might be American, so you switch it to Australian spelling. And then you've got the controls for the video itself, video creation response itself. So you can actually moderate the video. Like I mentioned before, you can turn that on. You can determine how long you'll let the student respond for. If you give them 10 minutes, you could be looking at those for a very long time. So restricting it to a slightly shorter time is good. The default is 1.5 minutes. And then further down, you've got all sorts of extra settings as well in regards to letting students, like one another's videos, respond to one another's videos. There's a lot of teacher controls in there, which make it a great educational tool for social and emotional learning. And then when you're happy, you click on Update Topic, and that is then added to your grid. So I can see this one's added to one of my grids called Primary Assessment. And then from there, you've got all sorts of different options. And so if you want, in regards to sharing it to your class, so if I wanted to share it into Teams, for example, I can click on or copy that flip code just there. And when I go into Microsoft Teams and click that plus tab in the channel area, I can add Flipgrid. Now, if you don't see Flipgrid, you can search it. And if it hasn't yet been added by your organization, my advice is always to log that IT job and ask for it to be added. And so there's Flipgrid. Once you click on that, you get that option. Actually, I think you sign in first. And then, no, you don't. You don't have to sign in for this. You sign in when you respond. So that's where I can pop the code in. And when I'm, it says we found it, happy days. And then you just click save to add it as a tab. And so like I showed before, that is now embedded into the Teams environment. Kids don't even have to go off of Teams. They can stay inside the Teams environment. As I said before, Immersive Reader is embedded into a lot of different technologies, not just Microsoft technologies, but also technologies like Flipgrid. It's free code, 25 lines of code that any organization can use in their product. And so what happens when a student clicks on that button is that they are presented with just the text, but they have lots of options to customize the experience for their own learning needs. Again, an important thing for their social and emotional well-being. So they can click on play and have the text read aloud if they choose to. There is a built-in dictionary in what's this called? Immersive Reader. So if you select certain words, you will see a picture definition of that particular word. And then you've got some different icons up here in the top right-hand corner. Under A, for example, the double A's, for example, that's where you can customize the text, where you can make it bigger or smaller. You've got this color contrast in the background. You can change the colors and yeah, change the font as well. There's lots of customization. If you click on this particular button, what you get is the option to turn that dictionary on or off. But you can also translate as well. So you can translate by word or by the entire document. So if it translates by word, you can notice here that the Hindi word, because that's what I selected, is coming up for difference. So if I spoke Hindi as my first language, I'd be able to get a better understanding of what that English word actually means. And then if you choose to, you can also translate here. It's just hidden under the drop-down menu here. Translate the whole document if you like. Depending on the language, it will also read that aloud. So it's nice to know that Immersive Reader is embedded into lots of different places. If you don't want to share into Teams, you can always click the share button and you can share directly into Teams chat or Teams conversation by clicking on the Teams icon. You can also select the QR code reader button and again, download a picture of the QR code to be able to use, again, stuck on the back of books, stuck on a door, wherever you'd like to put that particular Flipgrid experience. So yeah, love Flipgrid, absolutely amazing tool for remote learning. You should definitely check out help.flipgrid.com where you will find lots of help articles, but also links off to Flipgrid PD as well. So check it out. I think that was possibly, love Microsoft Teams, my favorite Microsoft product, but Flipgrid has definitely been an amazing partner tool, I guess, within Microsoft Teams during remote learning and well beyond as well, as teachers look to create differentiated experiences with their students using these tools they've discovered during remote learning. All right, the fabulous and wonderful Minecraft. It depends on the day which tool I use as my favorite or say as my favorite. Minecraft can often fall into that list as well. So there again was some research conducted in 2017, around how Minecraft actually supports social and emotional learning in K-12 education. And that was from Getting Smart organization. And the link for you is there on the screen as well at aka.ms/Minecraft-SEL. And there's some great stats there, and I'm not going to read through all of them, but I will focus in on them. And, it's always great to see those stats, high stats around, 97.7% of teachers indicated that problem solving is a top SEL skill that students actually got from Minecraft, as well as creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. And then, as we move further down, decision-making and communication abilities were positively impacted. So by using Minecraft, students are building their social and emotional skills. It is what's it called? Sandbox, far out. Sandbox game. So, there is not necessarily a beginning and end. If you just say, hey, kids, go play Minecraft, they'll do what they do at home and just get started and play and come up with their own ideas and direction with their fellow students. But if you're actually using some of the Minecraft Education Edition experiences and creating learning experiences in there, you can actually create a nice pathway for students to build not just their academic skills, but also their social and emotional skills as well. So again, if you want to check out some great ways to use Minecraft in the classroom, how to get it set up, technically, yeah, how to troubleshoot as well, head to minecrafteducation.zendesk.com. Depending on your school or your diocese or your department, your school will already have access to licenses. So just check with your IT department whether you have them. Sometimes it's just a matter of flicking a button to turn them on. So yet again, log that job with IT if you're not sure. So Minecraft Education Edition has a fabulous website designed for teachers, not for students. And it's at education.minecraft.net. And you can access class resources and explore a number of different lessons and worlds. So this particular lesson is called The Mindful Night. You can actually scroll down on that page and download a particular world called The Mindful Night, or you can search it from within the game yourself. There's great lesson ideas in there for using the Mindful Night. Basically, this is an interactive world that introduces 4 mindfulness activities, and they're focused on self-awareness and management of emotions through these quests through a medieval world. I'm going to jump into that one live in just a moment. So it's a really nice introduction to not just Minecraft, but also mindfulness and social and emotional learning as well. So if you do want to see what sort of skills your students have in Minecraft, get them into this game. They don't necessarily have to build anything. It's very much an experience of just exploring the world and practicing some mindfulness activities. There's also another world. This one's the lesson. This one's inspiring self-awareness. So students basically use a Minecraft world to build all sorts of creative structures. A lot of them, there's already a lot of creative structures, as you can see in that screenshot there. And the idea is they get to reflect on their emotions and their values and highlight their strengths, and again, build those social and emotional skills through the instructions that they find on boards and non-playing characters throughout the game. So check out that inspiring self-awareness lesson within class resources. And then there's another world. My colleague Stephen Payne over in Western Australia, he actually built the blog posts that we've created for this particular Transform for Tomorrow series. I'm just delivering the live content, so thank you, Stephen, for your support. But Stephen actually worked with this organisation, the growingwithgratitude.com.au, where you can go to that website and actually download basically a theme park that was built by students. There's some lesson instructions there and the world itself to download. And you can go in there and work through different mazes and challenges to help yourself grow with gratitude. So another one you might like to check out. So I'm actually going to jump into the live demo. I've got 4 minutes left to show you this particular world and then wrap up the session as well. So let's, without further ado, jump into Minecraft. So I've actually already downloaded one of the templates from, I forget what it's called, the Mindful Night. So I'll jump into the Mindful Night, grab a new copy of that world. So I'll click on play and be off and away in the Mindful Night experience. So we land in this particular world. I can walk up and I get these on-screen instructions as well, which is quite nice. And I can right-click on those people to talk. So if it's a little bit too much for me to talk, especially for young years to read, for young years students, I can click on that immersive reader and have it read aloud to me. So I discover that I've got to go up and speak to the Queen, and the Queen tells me that I've got a quest, and I need to accept that quest and go off and find my first quest. So I get a camera tool, which allows me to take photos on my quest and record the learning. And I also get a journal, which when I right click on the journal is literally a workbook that I work through as I complete different mindfulness challenges. So it's great for students to use that to reflect on. And you can actually look at that journal later without even jumping into the world itself. So it means you don't have to learn how to play Minecraft, which is heaps of fun, which is good, but it's also fun to learn. So here's the first instruction. We have to head off to the woods. So we come down here and we see the first sign that says that the woods is to the right, or the woods are to the right. So I've got more non-playing characters I can talk to, but I've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm just going to keep walking. And I talk to this dude, and, you know, tells me it's all about mindfulness and starts to give me some positive reinforcement about why mindfulness is so good. And then we come to challenge 1, to the journey to the Tower of Focus. And so I'm going to right-click my wizard here, and again, consider the question that he asks, as well as read the rest of the instructions. Now, when I click on that button, it basically puts a little bit of code into Minecraft, and it's going to teleport me to a different location. And that location is the Tower of Thoughtfulness. I forget what it is already. So if I come over here to the wizard, it says that I'm going to cast a spell when I hit the button, and I've just got to follow the instructions, and I'm going to learn to do some a mindfulness activity through breathing. So the idea is that once you cast the spell, the student actually starts floating up. You know, probably a good idea to have headphones on so they block out the classroom, and they just sit there silently and breathe in and breathe out according to the instructions on the screen. Now, I'm not going to be silent and do that because it would be a little bit weird as you watch on, but maybe you yourself are sitting there breathing in and breathing out as the words appear on the screen. And as you can see, we're heading up into this tower to discover what comes next. But the idea is that, yeah, you could potentially put students in to this world to practice those skills. So here we are. I think I'm going to fall, but no, the glass has appeared to save me. And my challenge, by completing the challenge, Princess Brethany, to see what they did there, tells me that, you know, I focused on my breathing, and it gives me a reason as to why we should practice that sort of mindfulness. And so we're awarded a helm of focus, and we then get to reflect on the event. So again, it just teleports us to a you know, nice quiet location and gives us some instructions for reflecting in the Book and Quill journal tool. So I can go along and flip the page and start to reflect on that third page. And then I'll bring this back up when I get to challenge 2. So once I'm finished, I click on the button, and we're off to find the second challenge, probably in the Pond of Presence. So check that one out. That particular world is called the lesson, is called the Mindful Night, and you will find it in the educator community. All right, my sound I think might have just gone a little bit funny. Okie dokie. So yeah, that's Minecraft. It's a pretty awesome tool for pretty much anything in your life, but particularly good for building those social and emotional skills. So check that link out. That's where you find all the information on licenses and installing and lesson ideas and professional learning and all that sort of stuff. We also have a website that will give you more information on the different tools, different research around social and emotional learning. So I've covered off just 4 of those today, but if you go to aka.ms/SEL, that's where you'll find our homepage that's regularly updated with all that research and the tools that we have for developing your students' social and emotional skills. So it's been a roller coaster 45 minutes. It's been a roller coaster roller coaster 2020. So, you know, think about that analogy. Think about the last time you rode a roller coaster. And as you sat in the car with your friend or a family member and you heard that cranking noise taking you up to the very, very, very top of the roller coaster, you have that feeling that's probably very similar to the feeling you had in your mind in, you know, late February, early March, as schools started to face the unknown of remote learning. That roller coaster cart, as it heads closer and closer towards the bend, is basically late March, and it was, you know, potentially terrifying. But you know, as that roller coaster goes over the edge, sometimes it can be amazing. And it's actually going down that wakes us up and makes us very present in the situation, even though we were quite concerned and scared about it. So while these remote learning experiences might have been filled with all sorts of different challenges, it's actually the downs on the roller coaster that can present these life-changing opportunities for us. Teaching is most definitely that roller coaster. Remote learning has definitely been that roller coaster. But as my Aussie colleague who's based in America in the Microsoft education team once said, the greatest potential for technology in education is to actually humanize the learning, not simply digitize the content. So hopefully some of these tools that you've learned about today can help you to not only improve the students' academic outcomes and deliver learning, but also humanize that learning by building their social and emotional skills. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you will be transforming for tomorrow, perhaps even starting that today. So thanks everyone for listening today. If you'd like to access more information, obviously I've shared lots of links throughout this session. You can always head to the Microsoft Educator Center, where we have more than 100 free online courses around all of our technologies that support social and emotional learning, as well as different academic and curriculum areas. If you search the courses for emotional or social, you'll get quite a few resources there. One of my favorites being the mindful night lesson that I just talked about. We've also written a blog post. So like I mentioned before, Stephen Payne, the legend, wrote up the social and emotional support blog post for the Transform for Tomorrow series. So you can check that one out as well at aka.ms/T4T-cell. And the Transform for Tomorrow series, wraps up tomorrow. So you probably can register for that if you choose to, but if you're watching this recording later, it's now all done. But you'll be able to access these resources via the blog posts as well. So be sure to bookmark that and check it out. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have an amazing rest of the week and rest of the term. Stay safe out there, and always choose awesome. Bye.